What's up? What's up, everybody? Drop a one if you're excited to be part of this green room based on best practices. We got, the audience jumping and dancing. What's up, Sophie?
Hello, how's it going, Drew?
Good, good. Oh, we got a lot of ones. Okay.
That's good.
All right. I want to do a roll call real quick before we start. If you're an artist, drop a one if you're an artist in the room, a music professional, music creative. If you're a student, a lot of ones. Okay, great. But yeah, we're super excited. If you were part of Digilogue Day, we had an opportunity to have Green Room part of it. This is an extension of that. This is an ongoing series. And we're super excited because Green Room, you launched this week
Yeah,
officially.
yes, we did. It was a very exciting time, and we're excited to share with you all our first set of product here and see what you think.
And then at the same time too, I think this is exciting, just especially for the artists, the artistpreneurs that we like to say, because we want to empower y'all to be the CEOs of your music business. And I think this is just one step forward to that. A lot of creatives, but when it comes to managing finances and it's being organized, that's a whole different world. So
Yeah. I like to say that Green Room handles the boring side of show business for you, so you can get back more time to be creative and be less stressed about all that.
For sure. But I'm gonna take it away and have you just maybe some background about you and also Green Room.
Yeah, so I'm Sophie. I'm the founder and CEO of Green Room. I've been working on this slowly but surely for the last couple of years, and really this has been full time for me for the most of this year so far. And how I got to the point of wanting to start a company that helped musicians better manage the business aspects of their career was two main things. One, my now husband is a professional musician, and you'll hear more about him in the chat because he's our case study today. I know a lot about the finances of his music career, so that's an easy one to share with y'all. But I was helping him with booking and management and saw firsthand a lot of the stress and chaos and the easy mistakes you can make there. And while I was helping him with that, my full-time job was in the tech industry. I was working for a software company that helped tour operators like escape rooms and zip lines run their businesses better. So we were doing all the boring side of that industry, and I saw how powerful that was for these small business owners. And I started to thinking for myself, think about this with a music lens of artists it's not that wildly different. You're also trying to do what you love, but make it a business. For the folks who make an escape room, it's not because they love spreadsheets, it's because they love mystery and excitement and team building activities. But now they have to deal with finances and online checkouts and running social media pages, and you all are in similar positions, and maybe some of that you like more than others, and we're trying to chip away at kind of all the boring side and bring that to you in a one-stop shop that's really easy to run from your phone, because we know you're on the go all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. I think one, just having it on your phone, not necessarily have to be at home, or just having multiple receipts and like different envelopes. We know how that can be cumbersome.
Yeah.
And I think also just teaching creatives to be just more, financially literate, and just be more conscious of like how they organize it. Because at the end of the day, you still have to pay Uncle Sam at the end of the year, especially as a touring artist.
Yeah.
And during before that time, just making sure you have everything organized. So we'll go through that.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, and then I'll have you take it away.
Sweet. So I'm going to start by sharing a couple stats from superstars, because a question I get a lot is, Drew, I think you have to re-enable screen sharing for me. A question I get a lot from artists who maybe don't necessarily do shows very often yet. Actually, if you could in the chat, if you're playing live regularly, could you put a 1 in the chat? And if you've so far just released to streaming but are thinking about playing live, throw a 2 in there for us. Okay, so an even split there. Awesome. So these are some superstar stats. These are from 2018 because we needed some pre-COVID data. I think a common misconception is that, like, well, we all know that it can be hard to make money streaming, but for even the largest folks out there. So in 2018, Taylor Swift was the highest income musician across the board. And in 2018, Drake is the artist who made the most money from streaming. And if you look at both of these pie charts, you'll notice that Taylor Swift, 91% of her income came from touring. And Drake, who made more money than anybody else from streaming, still made more money touring than he did from his recorded music. So if you're trying to build up your career and like diversify your income streams as an artist, whether you're part-time or full-time, and you're not thinking about playing live or at least experimenting with that as a way to make some money, I think you're missing out on an opportunity there. And I know for some genres that plays better than others, but it's worth considering and thinking about what that looks like for your career.
Yeah, that's just a crazy stat to think. 91% of revenue came from touring, considering how big Taylor Swift is from a streaming standpoint.
I'll be very curious what her numbers over the last year and this year are. Perhaps some of you are devastated about your Taylor Swift ticket luck in the last 48 hours, but
that's another comment.
no matter what you think about Taylor Swift, musically, she and her team are very savvy from a business perspective, and she's making it happen. Yeah, so let's talk about Patrick a little bit, because it's like, great, this is what it looks like for a superstar, but what does it look like for someone who's earlier in their career, what I like to call a middle-class musician? So my husband, Patrick, first and foremost, some context, he's plays professionally, by which I mean he gets paid regularly for playing music, but he is part-time. He has another part-time job that has health benefits, which makes it a lot easier to do some of the touring stuff. I won't try to gloss over some of the hard parts of becoming a full-time musician. That's very real. He performs about twice a week, so about 8 shows a month. He has 1 album and a few singles out on streaming platforms. And he treats his music like a business. He has a DBA, which stands for doing business as, and a tax identification number for his music project. So from a tax perspective, he can keep that more separate from his personal finance. He has a dedicated bank account for his music income, and he keeps records to the best of his ability of all his money movement. So, questions, Drew?
Yeah, question, because I know there's a lot of artists here who are probably asking, like, should they create an LLC versus just having a DBA? I don't know if we can go into that really quickly, but that's just a general question I've been asked before.
Yeah, I can hit on that at a high level, and we're going to do some office hours one-on-one sessions for anyone who came to the webinar after this, where we can dive in more. I'll throw out throughout all of this, like, I am not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice, and I'm not a certified financial advisor or accountant, so this isn't financial advice or tax advice. But the thought process that Patrick and I went through for his career is LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation, and liability is the key word in there. If you are worried about being sued and want to put up kind of, they call it a corporate veil, a barrier between your personal assets and personal finance and your music business finance and music assets, then having an LLC, like if you're touring a lot and you're driving people around and you're worried that someone might sue you if something happens there, having that corporate veil in between and making sure you never pierce the corporate veil would be a good reason to have an LLC. If you're just starting out and you're mostly playing solo shows and you don't own a lot of equipment, operating with a DBA or just under your own name for a while is okay, because once you have that LLC, it becomes a more complicated tax filing process and you're going to have to handle more there. So if you're just figuring it out, like it's okay to start slow, both from a sophistication of your business and like a legal perspective. And if you want to talk through that more, we can also drag up some resources to send your way. We're in the process of building out our blog, and this is definitely one of the topics we'll cover. So he went with the DBA for now, because while he does play full band shows a lot, when he's touring from like Texas to Montana, it's always solo shows. It's just him. He's not going to sue himself. Yeah. So these are his stats. This is numbers from 2021, which was a bit COVID impacted. He's on track to play more like 100 shows this year, but he played 50 shows in 2021, had about 7,500 streams, plays locally and regionally. So he plays full band shows all across Texas at what we call secondary venues. So like restaurants, bars, breweries, dance halls, honky tonks, plays country music, if you haven't guessed yet. And places that make most of their money from selling food and beverage, not from selling tickets. And then he tours solo throughout the US, and his total revenue in 2021 was just under $15,000. And 80% of it came from payment from venues. Another 15% of it came from tips at live shows, and a mere 0.3% came from streaming. So if you're wondering why he goes out and plays all these shows, it's because it goes from making $50 a year to making $15,000 a year. And this is how he's run the business side of his career before he started using Green Room in the last week. He's got this, actually we both maintain this, it's a very wildly crazy high level, where in the world is he going to be on any given day, and what other, so that's, you see the part-time job there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what other commitments does he have? So to cross-check personal work and music schedule at a high level. And then he uses Airtable to track his confirmed shows, all their details, the equipment, the compensation, who's playing with him. So another detail here is Patrick has like a roster of musicians he can call to play bass or drums or violin, versus say the Beatles is always John, Paul, George, Ringo. You're not going to see, they're not going to call themselves the Beatles if it isn't all four of them. Patrick has a little more flexibility and luxury with his backing bands, but that means he has to track who's playing when a lot more closely. It's text, emails, and phone calls to track who's playing which shows. And he had built with Zapier an automation to connect Airtable to Google Calendar. But anytime that automation broke, he was pulling his hair out and trying to fix it.
Wow. Wow. So let's break this down real quick. So there's like a couple of platforms, and then there's spreadsheets, there's Airtable, there's a text, there's instant messages, and then there's Google Calendar.
And there's no one place that had all the information. And even with all this, he would still like, it would be Wednesday and he realized he forgot to get a drummer for the show on Saturday. And this is like, this pains him terribly every time, but 1 or 2 times a year, he'll end up double booking, telling 2 different venues yes to a show that's at the same time. And there are ways to make that right and be good about it, like finding your own replacement, but that's like devastating to him. That's the last thing he wants to do. And this is what it looks like with Green Room. So all that information that was going all these disparate places is now in Green Room's app. 3 simple screens built for being on the road and operating your business from your phone. Brian on our team coined a fun little term, like it's your back office from your back pocket. So you put in all this information, and we'll go through what Greenroom looks like, not just screenshots as well, after we get through the finances chunk. And you can see over on this tab, he's putting in like, okay, I need a bass, I need a drummer, and I need a fiddler. And once he's confirmed who's playing those, he can put their names in to go with it. And now, right now, that communication is still happening via text, but as soon as he has that confirmed, he can put it in Greenroom, and that becomes the single source of truth. And we're thinking about ways over time to build that, to make it so you wouldn't have to be jumping from the app to text. But for now, not quite there. So this is what his finances looks like for 2021, 2022, manually putting in all his expenses, including their categories, payment method, and any additional notes. I think one little shout out I'll do here is you'll notice that the source, there's a good chunk of cash at play in here. And I think there's an assumption around cash in the music industry that cash is always under the table or is always like evading taxes. That's not true. You can and should be reporting your cash-based income. Cash can be a very legal form of tender. In fact, for a long time, it was the only form of money movement. So just marking it down that it was business cash, and keeping that straight works well. Cash can be compliant. So now with Greenroom, and this is what the rest of the process looked like. Literal back of the envelope math. This is our couch after like a weekend of shows, sorting through like what's what, paying out bandmates via Venmo and putting it manually in that spreadsheet. And then when he went to file 1099s, he was using QuickBooks for that. And for him, this is the worst part of being a gigging musician, is a record keeping and manually completing non-creative tasks. And
yeah, it can be cumbersome. There's so much to organize. I can only imagine just taking a look at that picture. There's that. QuickBooks is a platform in itself, and then there's Venmo. yeah,
and QuickBooks can get expensive. It's a little tough. So you're starting to see why I'm like, okay, we need a better way to do this. So finances with Greenroom, you can input your income and expenses for each show, and then once you've been paid, you go in and mark that you've received it and the date you received it on, and you can freeform type any notes you want in the description there. And on the roadmap, we've got a lot more coming with this regard to be able to kind of replace the Venmo and QuickBooks components of the slides over the next like 3 to 6 months. We're planning to roll out financial accounts and business expense cards so you could receive money via ACH check, however, into a single place, and have that be a replacement for a business bank account, and keep track of your business spend by just using your Greenroom debit card to make all your business expenses. And then ways to transfer money between, if you use Greenroom and your bassist use Greenroom and you pay them via a transfer to another Greenroom account, one, it would be instantaneous, and two, we can track that and do the 1099s for you down the line. So that's all on the horizon. And then once you're doing your spend via Greenroom card, we can help flag what should be a tax deduction and what kind of numbers you need to be putting in when you go to file your taxes at the end of the year. So with that, let's jump over to, I'm going to share my phone so you can see what it looks like in action here. And Drew, if any questions are coming in the chat, I can't see it, so just let me know.
Yeah, someone asked, is Greenroom only available in the US?
For the bank account replacement stuff I talk about, that's only going to work in the US, but the scheduling collaboration stuff can work from anywhere. The moving money when you get outside the US, we're not going to be there for a while, but if you just want the stay organized type value proposition, you can absolutely use that.
Cool. Thanks, Maria. Yeah, and we'll have more time for questions in about like 15 minutes.
Okay.
Cool.
Can you see my phone now?
No, let me
Okay, let me try again. I did this yesterday. If it doesn't work, we can try something else. All right, we'll just do it. I have a backup plan. Always have a backup plan. It's the best way to be.
Dope. I'm also gonna check where everyone's from. Drop where y'all from. So I know Maria might be from the US, outside of the US. Maria, where are you from? Colombia. Oh, Colombia. Okay.
Nice.
Dope. LA via Detroit, Chicago, LA, Boston, New York City, Brooklyn.
Awesome.
Sweet. Okay.
Okay, so this is what it would look like if you're going to go to log in or sign up to Green Room. And I'll just go ahead and log into Patrick's account because it's all built out there. And we can show kind of what that looks like in here. So these are all the shows that he has coming up for the rest of the year and early January. And we also have a record of like past shows, and we can go to this one. This was a private event he played last weekend. It has all the like load in, some notes. They needed to bring their own equipment because it wasn't a traditional venue. It was like a pop-up event. And the folks who are playing with him, we have Greg on drums, Fiddle and Phil, Chris on bass. And then this is a good example because we can do some of it. They were paid day of via check. And we can just go in and mark that they received that payment the day of the show. And then when we save that, we see that reflected here, that the host via check is paid. Now, I'll have to check with him. Did he pay out his bandmates, and was it Venmo or was it something else? We'd go through the same process here. And then at the end of the year, when he has to figure out like, okay, how many people did I pay more than $600? Because that's the threshold for issuing a 1099. We can pull that report for him and he knows who needs to get a 1099. And then, like I said, next year we'll be looking to do that automatically for folks. So the process for creating a new event, Drew, where would you like to play? What venue are you playing at?
SOBs?
SOBs.
Is there one in New York City? Or Sounds of Brazil?
Gotcha.
There you go.
So, and we're going to say you're working with Jeff over there. You can put in the email, the phone number, whoever you're working with, so that the day of, say you're running late, you can really easily like click into Green Room and shoot them a text like, hey, we're going to be 15 minutes behind. Let's make it a Thanksgiving show, like
Okay.
6 p.m. dinner show.
Okay.
Sure. Seems fitting. So you just put in the start and end time, any notes you want to add there. If you want to additionally put in like, okay, it's a 6:30 show, but there's a lot of folks playing. We actually need to be loaded in by 2:30. And our sound check is at 3:30. Anything like that can go in here. Maybe they told you need to go to the back gate. Code is super secure 1234. All that kind of information you can store here. And then you can put in who's playing with you. And with this, when you create that event, they're going to get an email and a calendar invite to play that show. And it's also going to show up in their green room account. So if I were Matt playing mandolin for this show at Sound of Brazil, when I log into green room and click on this, I'm going to have the address. I'm not going to be pinging Drew like, hey man, what's the info for load-in? Like, no, it's all right here. You don't have to deal with that anymore.
Love it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, I can only, I'm sure the artists in the room can attest, especially day of, you know, they're like, you've sent emails, calendar invites. You're just like,
yeah. Now
where's-
you can just be like, check green room. I put it all in green room.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So that's, it's super, we wanted to start with like a really simple set of tools that solve some core issues, and then we're layering on more to get to the point where we've got everything you need to run the live side of your business. That's our North Star, our vision, and we're going piece by piece to make sure we get it right. And with that, like, your feedback is so valuable. If this doesn't work for you, we want to know why. If there's something you love, we'd love to hear that. So yeah.
And I think and just for the room too, I know we emailed this, but if you sign up the green room today within the next 48 hours, you know, Sophie's going to do, and Brian from the team, they're going to do one-on-ones just to walk through the app, more of a deep dive into it. And I think it'll be great for y'all to do a one-on-one so you can really speak on like what you're working on, and you know, if you're going to decide to go on tour, you have upcoming shows. So
Yeah. Or if you're just playing locally, like I say touring a lot but I really just mean live. Even if you just have a weekly gig at a coffee shop, we can talk through ways to make that a little smoother. We have some best practices, like whether you're using green room spreadsheets or a piece of paper. If you're starting to play live or looking to play live more often, I think some of my top tips have nothing to do with what green room does, but being professional with your team and external parties, whether it's the talent buyer, the venue owner, even bartenders, sound engineers, that goes a long way. Like, people will talk positively about you and being pleasant to work with and showing up on time. Well, it seems like a low bar. That can really be a differentiator in the live music industry. And green room can help make sure your whole team's showing up on time by having all that information in one place, having the address there. Track your income and expenses. Maybe you aren't making money on live music in the first few months or even the first year, but you want to know that. You want it to be a calculated decision. You want to be like, okay, it is worth operating at a little bit of a loss to start because I could see it growing in XYZ ways. Or if some shows are profitable and some shows aren't, that's really useful for you to know. And you won't know that if you aren't keeping track of your income and expenses. Down the line, Green Room also plans to build reports that kind of surface those insights for you. We'll do the math. We'll help you learn about your career from that perspective, and maybe be able to tell you things like, you know, if you spent $20 on dinner instead of $40 at dinner for each show, you'd be making money instead of losing money. Learn about tax deductions. We'll send out a couple links in our follow-up email. But your business equipment, relevant subscriptions, office or studio, travel for shows and recording, those are all tax deductible. For example, if you do your own recording at home and you pay for, oh my gosh, what's the level up from GarageBand? Final Cut Pro is the video one. I'm completely blanking on the name. But if you're paying the monthly fee for that, or if you pay for Canva Pro to do your social media, those are business expenses. You can mark them tax deductible. If you have a home studio, that percentage of your rent is a tax deduction. So when in doubt, talk to an accountant. The IRS is becoming more mindful than ever of the 1099 economy, and you'll save money if you properly do your taxes right. So And then be proactive with venues, with your team, with staying organized. It conveys professionalism and it's going to help reduce your stress. If you think that dealing with expenses on a day-to-day basis is hard, it's not going to be easier when you've let it all stack up to the end of the year. So part of what Drew and I were talking about is like 2023 is a clean slate. If you start using Green Room now and getting used to it, then in 2023, if 100% of your live music income and expenses are in there, we're going to be able to give you all the reports you need to deal with that at the end of the year and to learn about your business throughout the year.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. That's what I got. Any questions? I see a couple.
Yeah, I think we have a couple questions in the room.
Okay.
So Sarah Grace, she's asking, is there a manager view of an artist account?
So right now it's just the artist's view, but there's a couple ways to deal with that. If there's like a shared email address, like booking@artistemail.com, you could use that to create the account and both log in, or you can email us and we can work with you to deal with the permissions on the back end. We'll be building over the coming months more nuanced, like I'm the manager of XYZ and I need these 3 accounts viewed. But yeah, join me for a one-on-one. We can talk through what you need from that and help get that set up.
Amazing. So make sure to sign up today so we can have y'all join the one-on-one with Sophie and Brian.
Yeah.
Yancy is asking, is there a monthly fee for Green Room or is this a free option?
Yeah, so everything I talked about today is free. So, and then I'll have here in addition to the one-on-ones claim, you can get 1 free month of the growth plan. Our growth plan just deals with a couple more of the headachy things that musicians have to do. Like if you're putting your shows in bands in town or Songkick or putting Facebook events, that's annoying. You already put it in Green Room. Don't you wish it just appeared all these other places? We'll do that for you. So everything I talked about on the webinar so far about the scheduling and collaboration and finance tracking is free. But we do have some tiers, and as we roll out other features and integrations, there'll be options there. But the plan is to have this free tier forever.
That's awesome. That's huge. And then Maria is asking, are there roles aside from band members?
Yeah, so the person who creates the account, creates the project, is like the manager of that. And then you can, and the roles is free form. So if you have like a sound engineer or a photographer, you could put those in as well. If you want to put in chat a more specific example, let me know, or we can do the one-on-one session. And then I see in chat, you said you couldn't find the app on the Google Store. So it's a web app. It's completely mobile optimized. So it's going to work really well on your phone, but you are going to go to a browser like Safari or Chrome and type in greenroom.app to get there. That lets us build a lot faster and make changes a lot quicker. But down the line, you'll see us in Google Play Store and the Apple Store. But for now, just whatever your browser of choice is.
Amazing. I also wanted to ask too, how many roles can you add to the app? Is there a limit?
Luke, is there a limit? Our software engineer is on the line. I'm guessing there's some limit, like 1,000, to make sure you aren't spamming us, but the limit is pretty high. And if there's virtually no limit, he says, yeah. One of Patrick projects, I have about 10 roles in there right now. But you could go higher.
Dope. And then obviously, this is like really the foundation. I have Jason asking, how does the scheduling collaboration work?
Yeah, so right now what happens is when the band leader or whoever deals with that kind of role, wears the band manager hat, puts in the show information and adds the roles and assigns people to those roles, they're going to get an email calendar invite, and it'll show up in their green room login that they have that show coming up. Now, as for back and forth communication about, are you available? Are you available? Should we take this show or not? That's still outside of green room, but we're thinking about ways to build into that down the line. And Jason, if that didn't answer your question, we can do one-on-one, or I could try to explain it another way. Just let me know, because happy to. Okay, it definitely did. Great. Glad to hear it.
So I want to leave the room open for some more questions. I have some questions, but want to make sure the audience is tuning in. We got a pretty wide audience too. We got people from Columbia, international, which is we'd love to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then real quick, while we wait for some questions,
I saw one question come in from
there you go.
Yancey. What is a DBA? DBA stands for doing business as, and it lets you have kind of a registered name with the IRS that that you can use when filing taxes. So my husband's name is Patrick B. Ray. His DBA, that rhymes, is PBR Music. Just so that it has a little bit, and there's a NerdWallet article. NerdWallet does a really good job of explaining a lot of business stuff. So he's a sole proprietor. He filed a DBA to do business under his name, and the name PBR Music instead of Patrick B. Ray, individual person in the United States.
Yeah, and you made a great point. I think as a artist who's starting out, this is a best place to start before you even, wanting to like file for LLC. So I think that's important to note, especially if you're like a single artist, not necessarily part of a bigger group.
Yeah.
Another question. Let me see. Hold on. So it won't let me sign in without a US zip code.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Luke's got the Luke chiming in. He's our software engineer. This is what he's been working hard on the last several months. Yeah, so zip code is an optional field. You could just leave that blank. In fact, we don't really do much with it. It's for down the line so that we can do things like calculate how many miles you traveled for a show, because your mileage is a business expense too, is tax deductible.
Wow, that's important to note. I think I'm sure this is something we'll talk over too, but are there any like common like expenses that maybe the average person may not know is tax deductible for like a band member or an artist?
Yeah, I'd start with like that fancy guitar and that fancy set of headphones you bought. Those are tax deductible if you're using them for business expenses. Yeah, so your equipment, and you can think a little more. Again, this is not tax advice. Think all encompassing about equipment. Like if you bought, in the country western world, we call it stageware. I don't know if that's what you call it in other genres. Like when my husband gets a fancy embroidered pearl snap shirt that he's going to be wearing to perform live, that is a tax deductible business expense. Yeah, Netflix and concert tickets, when you're going to network, when you're going to meet other people, your food the day of the show, gas the day of the show. If you end up buying a vehicle just for touring, there's ways to make that a business expense. Other simple ones, like, yeah, if you're running your business from your phone and you pay Verizon $60 a month and you estimate that about 20% of your time on your phone is for your business, then 20% of your monthly phone plan can be a business expense.
Love
Ooh,
that.
Yancey has another question. When is it too late to file for those equipment expenses? Would it have to be an expense from that year? That's a good question. I can do more research on that and try to find you an article. It's definitely best to do it in the year that you purchased it, but there are ways. I'll try to find an article on this, but there is a process whereby you say, like, I was using this for my personal life and now I'm becoming a professional musician and I would like to like pull that into the mix. I don't know the exact process. I'm not an accountant, but ideally you're keeping up with everything in each tax year. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, that's a great question. Cool. As far as dates, just like any key dates, the artist community should know.
Yeah, sign up for Green Room in the next couple days and you'll earn yourself a one-on-one slot with us. That being said, if you sign up down the line, like, we're here to support you and learn about what you've got going on. My big advice would be, like, if this kind of thing appeals to you, start trying it out now and make it your New Year's resolution to be like 100% on it in Green Room for the entirety of 2023, so you can have that full benefit of kind of what Yancey's getting at. It's like, oh, well, that was last year, but now we're in this year. Like, keep 2023 really clean. Use Green Room as a tool to help with that, and you'll get more and more benefits along the way as we grow our business. In the first half of next year, we plan to have those like financial accounts and charge cards. So keep your eye out there, and it would be exciting to have some of the folks who are on this webinar be among the first users of that. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, we're super excited to do this, and obviously this is the first of many, because this is obviously the first week of the launch. But
yeah,
the goal is, like I said, to really empower artists to be more financially literate, more in control of their finances and their business. And to your point, not get so caught up in the streaming race. There is opportunity for you to make money as a live musician or as a live artist. I mean, Patrick is doing it. He's a great case study for it. So I think just hopefully that's empowering a lot of artists to know that there's opportunity for you to make money as an artist.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, outside of that, I think we're good. I'm gonna leave some networking for like 5 minutes, play some music, but I just want to make sure people sign up over the next 48 hours so they can at least talk to you. And yeah, just can't thank you enough and the team for being part of this, and more to come from the Green Room.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for being here, taking time out of your night to join us.